If you have a video that looks and sounds like this, you have a really big problem because nobody wants to watch a video that looks or sounds like this. And if you're thinking, oh, I have to go out and buy a new camera to get a more professional look, let me tell you, you don't have to. It's most likely the fact that you just don't know how to use your gear properly or have the proper camera settings. In this video, I'm going to go through everything you need to know to make something like this look way more professional. The first thing I'm going to do is change up the audio because listening to audio like this just sucks. Upgrading your audio can help poor video quality, but if you have high video quality but poor audio, it just doesn't work that way. So I'm going to change out the audio now.
So as you can tell, there is a significant difference in the audio quality. And with something so simple like just upgrading the audio, you're gonna have so many more people watching the video. Now, the microphone I'm using is a dedicated studio microphone. It's pretty popular with podcasts and within the music industry. This costs about $400, but you don't have to spend that kind of money in order to upgrade your audio. You can buy something like this, which is a shotgun microphone, and these range from $30 to $400. These are really easy to use. You can just put them on top of your camera, or you can mount them on a boom arm and put it out of frame and record your audio like that. A quick tip while using shotgun microphones is I like to turn the input on the camera down all the way. And then on the microphone, I like to turn up the volume all the way. Just make sure when you're looking at the camera's audio levels that you're not clipping at the top of the waveform. You typically want to keep the recording audio volume right in the middle. So the next thing I'm going to do is change up the background because the background behind me right now is just a big white wall and it sucks and it's just really boring. Now, just by turning my camera and having these lights in the background makes so much of a difference. These lights behind me are called practicals. Practicals are basically just any light that you would practically have in wherever environment you're at. So it could be a lamp, or it could be a kitchen light. In this example, I'm using this tree of trees. It's a light stand for my plants, and I think it's really cool because I love plants, and it makes the entire frame a little bit more interesting. The next thing I'm going to do is change up the lighting because as of right now, I have a fan with a light just beaming down on top of me. And if you haven't noticed yet, it basically creates these bags under my eyes, and it makes me look like I'm telling a scary story, and we don't want that. So now I'm going to turn off this light and turn on my key light. So right off the bat, you can tell this is extremely bright, but it has changed the way I look within the frame. Now, this is where you're going to have to experiment with the brightness of your key light, the aperture on your camera, which means how much light you're going to let into the camera, and also the ISO that you're shooting at. So for this example, I'm going to keep it really simple. My lens is at 2.8. That way I'm in focus, the background's not too out of focus, and it's letting in as much light as possible. My ISO is at 640, but it might be different on your camera and the color profile that you're shooting in. A good rule of thumb is just to keep your ISO as low as possible. I'm also shooting in 30 frames per second. So another easy rule of thumb is to make sure that your shutter speed is double your frame rate. So my shutter speed is 1/60 because my frame rate is 30 frames per second. Now, depending on the look that you're trying to go for, you're gonna have to play between the brightness of your light, your camera settings, and your practicals. Here I have in my hand two filters. One is a creative look filter. The other one is more of a utility filter. So the creative filter that I use is the Tiffin Glimmer Glass 1. And what that does is it smooths out the highlights. The next filter I have is a Peter McKinnon Variable ND 2, which is basically sunglasses for your camera. So now I'm going to screw these on. That looks significantly better. So I did expose properly for my skin tones. I use a false color monitor, which basically shows the brightness and the darkness levels and where the skin tones should be sitting at. Now, depending on your camera, the profile that you're filming in will kind of determine how you use your camera and how you expose the entire scene, including your skin tones. Something that you may have noticed is that my key light is off to the side 45 degrees. It's also up and pointing down at me at 45 degrees. And if you look closely, I kind of have like this little triangle here. This lighting style is called Rembrandt lighting, and it's super popular within filmmaking, photography, and YouTube videos. And the reason is it creates a unique sense of depth on the subject. Another important thing to consider is the type of light that you use for your key light. The bigger, the better. You also want to make sure to use some type of diffusion on your light, Most lights nowadays that are meant for studio work come with diffusion. I'm using the Amaran F22X, which is a 2-foot by 2-foot LED panel. It's not the biggest light that I could have gotten, but for the space that I have, it works perfectly. Now keep in mind, the smaller the light, the closer it's going to have to be to your face. The bigger the light, essentially the further away it can be, but you want to try to keep the light source as close to your face so you have a nice soft looking overall look to your videos. Now, another very important thing to consider is the lighting temperature. Right now, my main key light is set to 5500 Kelvin. You want to make sure that your camera's white balance is set to 5500 Kelvin. And the reason you want to have the two matching is because if you don't, you're going to end up with a really weird looking shot and your skin tones are going to look terrible. And that's actually one of the most important things when filming videos is making sure your skin tones look correct. Something else that you can do with lighting is use a hair light or a rim light. Over here to the right, out of frame, I have this little spotlight. So right now, I'm just using this spotlight to illuminate the ceiling to lighten up the entire scene. Sometimes I use it like this, and then sometimes I also use it as a rim light. I'll show you that now. So if you look right here on my face, you can see that this spotlight is creating a rim light, somewhat of a hair light. It's almost kind of like a fill light at the angle it's at, but you guys kind of get the idea. You can kind of shape the scene using light. It's super powerful, and practicing all these techniques will get you really far. Now, if you want to experiment and go get yourself another little LED light, this one's just battery powered and I have a blue gel on it. You can use this in all different kinds of ways. One specific way I like to use it is to create some type of color contrast within the shot. I could put it out of frame and shine it on the wall over here since it's kind of dark, or if you want to, you can use it instead of the spotlight. So I'm going to turn off the spotlight. You can mount it out of frame and then aim it on your face like this so you can create some color contrast, not only color-wise, but also pop off of the background even more. This next tip is something I don't think a lot of people think about when they record their video. Depending on how you light the environment or where you're at, you should consider what you are wearing. Now, right now, I'm wearing a blue shirt, kind of like a lighter blue. But for this specific shot right here, I would probably keep this on. But if I were to make something a little bit brighter, I would switch it like this. Depending on the way you film your videos, whether it's in Rec 709, a log profile, or even RAW, which will determine the amount of flexibility that you have for the color correction and color grading process. Next, what you can do is some basic color correction and color grading. I use DaVinci Resolve, but you guys can use any video editor of your choice. And I'm going to show you a quick color grade right now. As you can see, there's a huge difference from what you saw before and now. If you guys want to know more about color correction and color grading, make sure to subscribe. I have a ton of videos, and I also sell a LUT pack, which you can find linked down in the description, which is giving me this look as of right now. For those of you who are using DaVinci Resolve, I have a power grade that is fully customizable to basically achieve any look, and it has all the film-like characteristics you'd ever want. The LUTs and the power grade will help speed up your workflow to get a more professional look faster.